I never thought a simple text message could destroy me the way Brittany's wedding announcement did. My cousin posted in our family group chat, keeping the wedding intimate and small, only inviting successful family members who've actually made something of themselves. Immediately, congratulations flooded in from everyone. Uncle Gerald praised her practical approach. Aunt Patricia called it refreshingly honest. My own mother sent heart emojis with "so smart, sweetheart." I stared at my phone screen, my stomach dropping like I'd just been punched. The message was crystal clear. Growing up in the Henderson family meant understanding one fundamental truth: your worth was measured by your paycheck and job title. Every Christmas gathering, every birthday celebration, every random Sunday dinner became a showcase of professional achievements and financial milestones. Uncle Gerald would dominate conversations with stories about his latest real estate acquisition, while Aunt Patricia discussed her surgical procedures with the confidence of someone who saves lives for a living. My cousins had followed the family blueprint perfectly. Derek landed a position as an investment banker at 25, strutting into family events wearing $1,000 suits and discussing market trends like he personally controlled Wall Street. Stephanie graduated from law school summa cum laude and joined a prestigious corporate firm specializing in mergers and acquisitions that generated millions in fees. And Brittany, the bride-to-be, had climbed the pharmaceutical sales ladder to become a regional manager, earning 6 figures while maintaining her picture-perfect social media presence. Then there was me, Jasper Henderson, the family disappointment. I'd started college with such promise. Computer science degree from a respected state university, internships at tech companies, professors who believed I had real potential. My family attended my graduation with pride, already planning my trajectory toward Google or Microsoft. But instead of accepting a safe corporate position, I decided to chase the entrepreneurial dream. My startup, Connect Local, was supposed to revolutionize how small businesses manage their digital presence. For 18 months, I poured every ounce of energy, every dollar I could scrape together, and every relationship I had into making it work. I lived on ramen noodles and hope-coding 18-hour days in my cramped apartment, convinced I was building the next big thing. The collapse came suddenly. Our main investor pulled out when a competitor launched a similar platform with better funding. Within 3 weeks, Connect Local was dead. My business partner had moved to California, and I was $30,000 in debt with a computer science degree that felt worthless. Now, at 28, I lived in a 400-square-foot studio apartment in a neighborhood my family pretended didn't exist. My income came from a patchwork of gig work, driving for rideshare companies during peak hours, freelance coding projects that paid just enough to cover rent, and occasional tech support jobs that reminded me daily of how far I'd fallen from family expectations. The group chat continued buzzing with wedding details. Brittany shared photos of the country club venue, a sprawling estate with manicured gardens, and a ballroom that cost more per night than I made in 2 months. Derek posted about flying in from New York for the celebration, while Stephanie discussed taking time off from a major case to attend. Uncle Gerald offered to cover the bar tab because family celebrations deserve the finest champagne. Each message felt like another reminder of my inadequacy. When Brittany posted the guest list guidelines specifying accomplished family members only, the implications were unmistakable. Success meant corporate ladder climbing, impressive salaries, and prestigious titles. Failure meant exclusion from life's important moments. But what they didn't know was that for the past 6 months, while they'd been dismissing me as a lost cause, I'd been quietly working on something that could change everything. Late at night after finishing my driving shifts, I'd return to my laptop and continue developing Secure Small, a cybersecurity platform specifically designed for small businesses that couldn't afford enterprise-level protection. The idea had come from my freelance work. Small business owners constantly struggled with cybersecurity, either going without protection or paying for complex systems they couldn't properly implement. My solution was elegant, affordable, user-friendly security software that could be deployed without requiring a dedicated IT department. I'd partnered with Marcus Williams, a former Google engineer who'd left the corporate world to pursue more meaningful projects. Marcus believed in Secure Small's potential, contributing his expertise in exchange for equity. Together, we'd built something genuinely innovative, though I hadn't told anyone in my family about it. The group chat notification chimed again. This time it was my mother. Some family members need to learn that participation requires contribution. My heart stopped. My own parents, the people who'd raised me, supported my education and claimed to love me unconditionally, had just publicly agreed that I wasn't worthy of inclusion in family celebrations. The betrayal cut deeper than Brittany's original announcement because it confirmed my worst fear. Even my parents saw me as a failure. I set my phone down and stared at the wall of my tiny apartment. Outside traffic hummed along the busy street, people going about their successful lives, while I sat surrounded by the evidence of my own inadequacy. But somewhere in the pain and humiliation, a spark of determination began to grow. Maybe it was time to show my family exactly what kind of man I'd become. The next morning, I woke up with a hollow feeling in my chest that coffee couldn't fix. My mother's words echoed in my mind as I sat at my kitchen table, which doubled as my desk, my dining area, and my only workspace. The same table where I'd been building something that could revolutionize small business cybersecurity, apparently, while being written off as a family disappointment. I opened my laptop and dove into Secure Small's development with renewed intensity. The platform was nearly complete, featuring automated threat detection, real-time monitoring, and an interface so intuitive that a coffee shop owner could implement it without technical training. Marcus and I had spent months testing it with beta clients, and the results were promising. Small businesses reported feeling secure for the first time, while our system caught threats that would have devastated their operations. Marcus called around noon. "Jasper, we need to talk about the Cyber Innovation Awards." I'd forgotten about the startup competition he'd mentioned weeks earlier. "What about it?" "I submitted Secure Small without telling you. The deadline was yesterday, and I knew you'd overthink it." His voice carried an excitement I hadn't heard before. "They want to see a full presentation next week. This competition has investors from tech venture capital Sequoia and 3 other major firms." My hand tightened around the phone. "You submitted us without asking because you would have said no. You always doubt what we've built." "But Jasper, this software could help millions of small businesses. Stop hiding behind your family's definition of failure." After we hung up, I sat staring at my reflection in the laptop screen. Marcus was right about my self-doubt, but he didn't understand the weight of family expectations. Growing up, Henderson meant carrying the burden of judgment at every family gathering, where relatives measured success through visible achievements and public recognition. Curiosity got the better of me, and I began researching my successful family members more thoroughly. Social media made it easy to track their professional lives, but public records told more interesting stories. Derek's investment bank Meridian Financial appeared frequently in news articles about predatory lending practices targeting elderly homeowners. The bank had settled 3 lawsuits in the past year, paying millions to families who'd lost homes through questionable mortgage restructuring schemes. Derek's LinkedIn profile boasted about his role in innovative lending solutions. But the news reports suggested these innovations involved exploiting vulnerable populations. Stephanie's corporate law firm, Blackstone and Associates, faced multiple malpractice suits from clients who claimed inadequate representation in major deals. One case involved a family business that lost everything after Stephanie's team allegedly missed critical contract clauses during a merger negotiation. The State Bar Association had opened an investigation into the firm's practices, though nothing had been publicly resolved. Uncle Gerald's real estate empire looked impressive on paper, but property records revealed a pattern of buying distressed homes, making minimal improvements, and flipping them to desperate buyers at inflated prices. Several neighborhoods had filed complaints about his properties, becoming sources of foundation problems, electrical issues, and plumbing failures within months of purchase. His company faced ongoing litigation from homeowners who discovered they'd bought houses with deliberately concealed structural damage. Even Britney's pharmaceutical company had problems brewing beneath its polished surface. Recent FDA filings showed the company had dramatically increased prices on diabetes medication over the past 2 years, pricing out patients who couldn't afford insurance coverage. Patient advocacy groups were building a case for price gouging, though the story hadn't hit mainstream news yet. My family's success was built on questionable foundations, yet they had the audacity to exclude me for being unsuccessful. The irony was staggering. The family failure was the only one building something that actually helped people instead of exploiting them. My phone rang, interrupting my research. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. Is this Jasper Henderson from Secure Small? Yes, who's asking? This is Sarah Chen from Tech Venture Capital. Marcus Williams submitted your cybersecurity platform to our startup competition, and frankly, we're impressed. We'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss potential investment opportunities. I nearly dropped the phone. Tech Venture Capital was one of the most respected firms in Silicon Valley, known for identifying breakthrough technologies before they became household names. They'd funded companies that were now worth billions. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Sarah laughed. Your software addresses a genuine market need with an elegant solution. We've reviewed your beta testing data and the results are compelling. Would Thursday work for a presentation meeting? Thursday was 3 days away. 3 days to prepare the most important presentation of my life. 3 days before my family would discover that their failure had caught the attention of major investors. Thursday works perfectly. After confirming the details, I sat in stunned silence. Marcus had changed everything with one competition submission. The meeting with Tech Venture Capital could validate years of work, transform Secure Small from a passion project into a real company, and prove that I wasn't the family disappointment they believed me to be. But first I had to survive the most important pitch of my life. The Tech Venture Capital offices occupied 3 floors of a gleaming downtown tower that made me feel underdressed despite wearing my only decent suit. Sarah Chen met us in the lobby, a sharp woman in her 40s who radiated the confidence that came from evaluating billion-dollar opportunities on a daily basis. Marcus had flown in from Seattle for the meeting carrying a presentation folder thick with technical specifications, market analysis, and beta testing results. We'd spent the previous 2 days refining our pitch, anticipating questions, and preparing for the kind of scrutiny that separated real companies from wishful thinking. The conference room overlooked the city skyline with floor-to-ceiling windows that made the space feel infinite. 3 other investors joined Sarah David Park from the firm's cybersecurity division, Jennifer Martinez, who specialized in small business technologies, and Robert Thompson, a partner known for identifying transformative platforms before anyone else recognized their potential. Tell us about Secure Small. Sarah began settling into her chair with a legal pad ready for notes. I took a deep breath and launched into the presentation we'd rehearsed dozens of times. 60% of small businesses experience cyber attacks, but only 23% have adequate protection. Existing security solutions are either too expensive or too complex for small business owners to implement effectively. Marcus pulled up our software demonstration on the conference room's wall-mounted screen. Secure Small's interface was clean, intuitive, and powerful. Within minutes, a small business owner could deploy comprehensive protection without understanding complex technical terminology or hiring dedicated IT staff. Our beta testing shows 94% user satisfaction rates. I continued. With small businesses reporting, they feel genuinely secure for the first time. We've prevented 47 attempted attacks across our test group, including 3 that would have been business-ending ransomware incidents. David Park leaned forward. What's your customer acquisition strategy? Word of mouth has been our primary growth driver during beta testing. Small business owners talk to each other constantly about operational challenges. When one coffee shop owner discovers affordable cybersecurity that actually works, they tell every other business owner in their network. Jennifer Martinez asked about scalability, regulatory compliance, and integration with existing business software. Each question revealed the depth of our preparation. Marcus and I had anticipated these concerns and built solutions into Secure Small's architecture from the beginning. The meeting lasted 90 minutes. When we finished, the investors exchanged glances that I couldn't interpret. Sarah smiled. We're prepared to offer $1.2 million in Series A funding with an option for additional investment based on growth metrics. Our media relations team would announce the partnership, immediately positioning Secure Small as the next breakthrough in accessible cybersecurity. My vision went blurry. $1.2 million. After years of driving for rideshare companies and living on freelance scraps, investors wanted to give me more money than my family spent on luxury cars. There's one timing consideration, Robert Thompson added. Our announcement schedule means the story would break this Thursday. We've already contacted business journalists at Forbes, TechCrunch, and the Wall Street Journal. The coverage would be comprehensive. Thursday was Brittany's wedding day. Marcus grabbed my arm under the table, his excitement barely contained. This was beyond our wildest expectations. Tech venture capital didn't just want to invest, they wanted to make Secure Small a showcase success story. We'll need a decision by tomorrow morning, Sarah said, handing me a folder containing preliminary term sheets and legal documents. But Jasper, I've been in this business for 15 years. What you've built addresses a real problem with genuine innovation. This is the kind of company that changes industries. Outside the building, Marcus and I stood on the sidewalk in shocked silence. Other professionals hurried past, absorbed in their daily routines, unaware that two guys in cheap suits had just received a life-changing offer. "Do you understand what just happened?" Marcus finally asked. "They want to give us over $1 million. They want to make you a millionaire entrepreneur. Thursday morning, you'll wake up as the founder of a funded startup with national media coverage. Your family is going to lose their minds." That evening, I sat in my studio apartment reading investment documents and trying to process the magnitude of change heading my way. The same family members who'd excluded me from a wedding for being unsuccessful would wake up Thursday morning to news articles calling me an innovative entrepreneur worthy of seven-figure investment. The family group chat continued buzzing with wedding preparations. Brittany shared photos of her final dress fitting. Uncle Gerald posted about the premium whiskey selection for the reception, and Derek bragged about flying first class for the celebration. Each message felt surreal, like watching a movie about people who existed in a completely different reality. My phone showed 17 missed calls from freelance clients, 3 rideshare shift notifications, and 2 overdue bill reminders. By Thursday evening, none of those concerns would matter anymore. I'd either be celebrating the launch of a funded company or dealing with the aftermath of a dream that fell apart at the last moment. But looking at the investment documents spread across my kitchen table, reading Sarah Chen's handwritten notes about Secure Small's potential impact, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: genuine confidence in my own abilities. Marcus was right. It was time to stop hiding behind my family's definition of failure and start building something meaningful. Thursday morning arrived with a phone call that changed everything. Sarah Chen from Tech Venture Capital sounded energized as she walked me through the media coverage plan. TechCrunch goes live at 9 a.m. Eastern, she explained. Forbes publishes at noon. The Wall Street Journal has a feature story scheduled for tomorrow's print edition, but their online version posts tonight. Business Insider wants an exclusive interview this afternoon. I sat at my kitchen table drinking coffee from a chipped mug, trying to comprehend that major publications wanted to interview me about Secure Small. 6 months ago, I'd been coding alone in this same spot, wondering if anyone would ever care about small business cybersecurity. The angle everyone loves is local startup addresses critical cybersecurity gap. Sarah continued, your background story resonates perfectly. Failed entrepreneur learns from setbacks, identifies real market need, builds solution that could help millions of small businesses. The first article went live while I was getting dressed. TechCrunch's headline read, Secure Small secures 1.2 MES Series A to democratize cybersecurity for small business. The piece included my photo, a detailed explanation of our software's capabilities, and quotes from beta testing clients who described feeling genuinely protected for the first time. My LinkedIn profile, which had been dormant for months, suddenly showed dozens of connection requests. Entrepreneurs, investors, cybersecurity professionals, and small business owners were reaching out with congratulations and collaboration inquiries. Forbes published their story at exactly noon, from gig economy to startup success. How one entrepreneur built the small business security solution America needs. The article was more comprehensive, including interviews with industry experts who praised Secure Small's approach and predicted significant market impact. My phone started ringing nonstop. Local news stations wanted interviews. Podcasters reached out about appearances. A small business conference in Chicago invited me to keynote their cybersecurity panel. But the most interesting call came from Derek. Jasper, dude, I'm seeing some crazy stuff online with your name on it. His voice carried a confusion I'd never heard before. Are you actually running some kind of tech company? It's a cybersecurity startup, yeah. Like a real company with investors and everything? Tech Venture Capital announced a $1.2 million investment this morning. Silence. Then, holy shit, man, I had no idea you were working on anything like this. I've been developing it for months. But you drive for Uber. I was funding development through gig work. That's how startups work when you don't have family money to fall back on. After Derek hung up, I checked the family group chat for the first time since Tuesday. The wedding excitement had been replaced by frantic message exchanges. Derek, everyone needs to Google Jasper's name right now. Uncle Gerald. What's this about a tech company thought he was doing delivery driving? Aunt Patricia, these articles say he's getting over $1 million in investment. Stephanie Forbes just published a feature story. This is serious. Mom. Jasper, honey, why didn't you tell us about your business? Brittany, wait, what's happening? I'm getting ready for my wedding. The messages kept coming as family members discovered article after article about my success. Business Insider's interview had generated additional coverage with technology blogs and industry publications picking up the story. Secure Small was becoming a minor sensation in startup circles. Uncle Gerald tried to downplay the coverage. Investor hype happens all the time. Most of these deals fall through during due diligence. But Aunt Patricia found the SEC filing documents confirming the investment's legitimacy. Stephanie located legal filings showing Secure Small's incorporation and patent applications. Derek discovered that Tech Venture Capital had a reputation for funding companies that went on to successful exits. Brittany's panic was evident in her increasingly frantic messages. My wedding is in 6 hours. Can we please focus on that instead of whatever Jasper's doing? But the family couldn't ignore what was happening. Their designated failure, the relative they'd excluded from important celebrations for being unsuccessful, was suddenly featured in major business publications as an innovative entrepreneur worthy of significant investment. My mother called while I was preparing for the Business Insider interview. Sweetheart, I'm so proud of you. I had no idea you were working on something this important. You told the family group chat that participation requires contribution. Apparently, I wasn't contributing enough to attend Brittany's wedding. That was taken out of context. I was referring to general family dynamics, not you specifically. Mom, the message was pretty clear. The Business Insider interview took place over video call from my studio apartment. The journalist Amanda Rodriguez was fascinated by the contrast between my current living situation and the startup's potential. Your apartment is quite modest for someone who just secured over $1 million in investment. Startup founders reinvest everything back into the company. Personal comfort comes after proving the business model works. Tell me about your family's support during this journey. The question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. I could lie present a sanitized version of family relationships that protected everyone's reputation. Or I could tell the truth about conditional love and success-based acceptance. My family measures worth through traditional career achievements. Building a startup from nothing while working gig economy jobs doesn't fit their definition of success. In fact, they recently excluded me from a family wedding for being unsuccessful. Amanda's eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of human interest angle that made startup stories compelling. They excluded you from a family wedding. The bride decided to keep her guest list limited to successful family members only. Apparently, driving for rideshare companies while developing cybersecurity software doesn't qualify as success. The interview continued for 30 minutes, covering Secure Small's technical capabilities, market potential, and my unconventional path to startup funding. But the family exclusion angle clearly fascinated Amanda most. After we finished, I checked my phone to find 47 missed calls, dozens of text messages, and a family group chat in complete meltdown. Brittany. The wedding coordinator just asked me about media inquiries regarding my excluded cousin. What did you do? Derek, Business Insider, is calling mom and dad for comments about family dynamics. Uncle Gerald, Jasper needs to clarify his statements to the press immediately. Stephanie, this could affect all our professional reputations. Mom, please call me. We need to discuss how this got so misunderstood. I turned off my phone and sat in the quiet of my apartment. In 8 hours, my cousin's wedding would begin at an exclusive country club where I wasn't welcome. Meanwhile, business journalists were calling my family for comments about their treatment of the newly minted millionaire they dismissed as a failure. Sometimes the universe has a sense of timing that borders on poetic justice. My phone rang at 6:30 in the morning, jolting me awake. Brittany's name flashed on the screen and her voice carried a desperation I'd never heard before. Jasper, we need to talk. There's been a huge misunderstanding about the wedding. I sat up in bed checking the time. Her wedding started in 12 hours. What kind of misunderstanding? The guest list thing. I never meant to exclude you specifically. It was more about keeping numbers down, venue capacity and budget constraints. Brittany, your exact words were only successful family members who've actually made something of themselves. But I didn't know about your company. If I'd known you were building something amazing, obviously you would have been invited from the beginning. Her voice cracked with the strain of trying to rewrite history in real time. News of my startup had apparently reached the country club, the wedding coordinator, and several guests who'd seen the business articles. So my invitation depends on my net worth. That's not what I'm saying. Family is family regardless of circumstances. We just want you there to celebrate with us. After hanging up, I discovered the family group chat had exploded overnight. My relatives were scrambling to control narrative damage as business media coverage expanded beyond the startup world. Uncle Gerald. Family matters should stay private. Jasper needs to issue a clarification statement. Derek. My bank's partners are asking about the Henderson family situation. This is affecting my professional standing. Stephanie. Clients saw the Business Insider article. They're questioning my judgment for having family issues play out publicly. Aunt Patricia. We all said things we didn't mean. Families have misunderstandings sometimes. Mom, sweetheart, please call me. Your father and I are so proud of what you've accomplished. We never wanted to hurt you. The most interesting development was a missed call from Robert Thompson at Tech Venture Capital, followed by a text message. CNN wants to do a segment on unconventional entrepreneur stories. Interested in discussing your background and family dynamics on national television? National television. The family that had excluded me for being unsuccessful now faced the possibility of their treatment being discussed on CNN's business programming. Marcus called while I was making coffee. Have you seen the social media response to yesterday's interviews? I hadn't. Opening Twitter showed hundreds of comments from people sharing their own stories of family rejection, conditional love, and relatives who only showed interest after professional success became public. The story is resonating with people, Marcus continued. Everyone knows someone who faced family judgment for taking unconventional paths. You're becoming a symbol for entrepreneurs who built something despite lack of support. I never intended to become a symbol of anything. But you are. And CNN wants to explore that angle. This is bigger than just secure small coverage now. The CNN producer Michael Stevens called an hour later with specific questions about family support during my entrepreneurial journey. The network planned a feature segment about entrepreneurs who succeeded despite family discouragement, positioning my story within a broader narrative about conditional acceptance and measuring worth through external achievements. Would you be comfortable discussing how your family's reaction changed once your startup gained investment and media coverage? I thought about Brittany's desperate phone call, my mother's sudden pride, Derek's concern about his professional reputation, and Uncle Gerald's demands for privacy. They were panicking because their treatment of me was being scrutinized by people who mattered in business circles. I'd be comfortable with that conversation. Excellent! We're planning to tape the segment this afternoon for tonight's broadcast. My phone buzzer indicated another call. Uncle Gerald's number appeared on the screen. Jasper, we need to discuss this media situation. You're making the family look terrible. I'm telling the truth about what happened. Truth can be presented in different ways. You're making it sound like we're horrible people who only care about money and status. Aren't you? Silence. Then look, families have complicated dynamics. Maybe we didn't handle things perfectly, but airing our business publicly isn't the solution. This is hurting everyone's reputation. My reputation was apparently so damaged that I couldn't attend family celebrations. Now you're concerned about reputations. That's not fair. We didn't understand what you were building. You didn't care to understand what I was building. You saw gig work and decided I was worthless. The conversation continued for 20 minutes with Uncle Gerald, alternating between attempted manipulation, guilt trips, and veiled threats about family loyalty. But his desperation was obvious. A real estate developer who built wealth through questionable practices couldn't afford having family dynamics scrutinized by media outlets that might investigate his business methods. Similar calls came from Derek and Stephanie throughout the morning. Derek worried about his bank's reputation being associated with family discrimination stories. Stephanie feared her law firm would question her judgment for allowing personal family conflicts to become public relations nightmares. Each conversation revealed the same pattern. They dismissed me when my struggles had no consequences for their lives, but now they were desperate for damage control as my success story highlighted their behavior. The CNN interview was scheduled for 3 o'clock. 2 hours before Brittany's wedding began, I would be discussing family conditional love and success-based acceptance on national television. Justice wasn't just being served, it was being broadcast to millions of viewers. The CNN studio was smaller than I'd expected, but the cameras and professional lighting made everything feel surreal. Michael Stevens, the segment host, reviewed talking points, while makeup artists applied final touches. In 2 hours, this conversation would reach millions of viewers during prime business programming. We'll start with Secure Small's success, then transition into your unconventional path to startup funding, Michael explained. The family dynamics angle is what makes this story unique. Viewers connect with entrepreneurs who succeeded despite lack of support. I adjusted my tie, the same one I'd worn to the tech venture capital meeting. It felt appropriate considering how dramatically my life had changed since that presentation. Let's begin, Michael said as the cameras rolled. Jasper Henderson founded Secure Small to address a critical gap in small business cybersecurity. This week, Tech venture capital announced a $1.2 million investment in his platform. Jasper, congratulations on this remarkable success. Thank you, Michael. Secure Small represents 18 months of identifying real problems and building practical solutions. Your path to startup funding was unconventional. While developing this software, you worked multiple gig economy jobs to support yourself. Tell us about that experience. Building a startup requires total commitment, but it also requires survival. I drove for rideshare companies, did freelance coding work, and took whatever projects I could find to pay rent while developing Secure Small during nights and weekends. Michael leaned forward with practiced empathy. That level of dedication requires significant personal sacrifice. Did you have family support during this challenging period? The question I'd been preparing for since yesterday. I could deflect, give a diplomatic answer that protected everyone's feelings, or tell the truth about conditional family love. Actually, my family excluded me from important celebrations during this time. My cousin recently announced she was limiting her wedding guest list to successful family members only. Apparently, working gig economy jobs while building a cybersecurity startup doesn't qualify as success in my family's measurement system. Michael's eyebrows raised with genuine surprise. They excluded you from a family wedding for being unsuccessful. The message in our family group chat was very clear: only accomplished relatives who'd made something of themselves would be invited. I was driving for Uber and doing freelance work, so I didn't meet their criteria. How did that make you feel? Devastated. When your own family measures your worth through external achievements rather than character or effort, it creates deep wounds. But it also motivated me to prove that unconventional paths can lead to meaningful success. What's fascinating is the timing. Your startup's investment announcement happened to coincide with this wedding. I smiled slightly. Sometimes the universe has perfect timing. The business articles started publishing the same day as my cousin's celebration. How has your family responded to the sudden media attention about your success? Suddenly, everyone wants to rewrite history. Phone calls claiming there were misunderstandings, that they always believed in me, that family dynamics were more complicated than they appeared. It's interesting how investment announcements change people's perspective on your worth. The interview continued for 12 more minutes, covering Secure Small's technical capabilities, my advice for entrepreneurs facing family discouragement, and the importance of building something meaningful regardless of external validation. When we finished, Michael shook my hand warmly. That was powerful television. Your story will resonate with anyone who's faced conditional acceptance from people who should love them unconditionally. I checked my phone after leaving the studio. The family group chat had descended into complete chaos. Brittany, CNN is interviewing Jasper about our family right now. Derek, this is a disaster. My colleagues are watching this. Uncle Gerald. He's making us sound like monsters on national television. Stephanie. My law firm's senior partners are probably seeing this coverage. Mom, Jasper, please call me immediately. This has gone too far. Aunt Patricia, we're being portrayed as awful people who only care about money. Dad's son and we need to discuss this situation like adults. The interview was scheduled to air in 90 minutes during CNN's business programming block. By then, Brittany's wedding reception would be in full swing. Her guests would be enjoying premium champagne at the country club. And my story about family exclusion would be reaching millions of viewers. My phone rang constantly as relatives attempted damage control. Uncle Gerald left voicemails threatening family lawsuits if I didn't issue public retractions. Derek sent panicked texts about his professional reputation. Stephanie worried about client perceptions. But the most revealing call came from Brittany herself. Jasper, you've ruined my wedding day. Guests are asking about the excluded cousin story, my wedding coordinator is fielding media calls, and now CNN is broadcasting our private family business. Your wedding day was ruined the moment you decided I wasn't successful enough to attend. That's not what happened, and you know it. Brittany, your exact words are documented in our family group chat. Screenshots exist. The evidence is permanent. But we're family. Families forgive each other and move forward. Families also support each other unconditionally, but you chose conditional acceptance based on external achievements. The CNN segment aired at 7:30 p.m. during peak viewership for business programming. Social media response was immediate and overwhelming. Twitter exploded with viewers sharing similar experiences of family conditional love entrepreneurs discussing lack of support during startup phases, and business professionals criticizing families who only showed pride after public success. The hashtag that emerged organically was conditional family, with thousands of people sharing stories about relatives who measured worth through career achievements, family members who disappeared during struggles but reappeared during success, and parents who only expressed pride after external validation. My story had struck a nerve that went far beyond startup success or family dynamics. It represented something fundamental about American culture's obsession with external achievement and the damage caused when families adopt those values in their personal relationships. Marcus called while I was reading social media responses. Jasper, you've become the voice for every entrepreneur who built something despite family discouragement. This is incredible. I never intended for it to get this big. But it did. And now you have a platform to say something meaningful about entrepreneurship, family support, and measuring success through impact rather than external validation. He was right. What had started as a wedding exclusion story had evolved into a broader conversation about conditional love family dynamics and the courage required to pursue unconventional paths despite lack of support from people who should believe in you most. The next morning, I woke up to discover that major publications had picked up the CNN segment. Forbes published a follow-up piece about family dynamics in entrepreneurship. Harvard Business Review requested an article about building startups without traditional support systems. 3 different podcasts invited me to discuss unconditional versus conditional family acceptance. But the most satisfying message came from a complete stranger in Ohio. Your story helped me understand that my family's lack of support doesn't reflect my worth. I'm launching my consulting business next month with or without their approval. Thank you for showing what's possible when you believe in yourself. That message made everything worthwhile. 3 weeks after the CNN segment aired, I received a phone call that completed my transformation from family failure to industry success story. Jasper, this is Amanda Rodriguez from Business Insider. We have breaking news regarding Secure Small. I was sitting in my new office space, a modest but professional environment that Marcus and I had leased after the tech venture capital investment. Through the window, I could see the city skyline where just months ago, I'd driven rideshare routes to pay rent. What kind of news? CyberShield Corporation just announced they're acquiring Secure Small for $10 million. They're specifically citing your perseverance, despite lack of family support, as evidence of the leadership qualities they want in their cybersecurity division. $10 million. The number seemed impossible, like something that happened to other people in business magazines rather than failed entrepreneurs who'd lived on freelance scraps and gig economy wages. They're making the announcement public. The press release goes live in 1 hour. CyberShield's CEO wants to position this as an acquisition of both innovative technology and exceptional leadership. Your background story has become part of Secure Small's value proposition. After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence. Marcus burst through the office door 30 minutes later, having received his own call from CyberShield's acquisition team. Do you understand what just happened? His excitement filled the entire room. We built something from nothing, proved its value in the market, attracted major investment, and now we're being acquired by one of the biggest cybersecurity companies in America. It doesn't feel real yet. It's real. And Jasper, they want you to lead their small business security division. You're not just selling the company, you're becoming their VP of small business innovation. The acquisition announcement made national business news within hours. Reuters picked up the story, highlighting how Secure Small had grown from a bootstrap startup to a $10 million acquisition in less than a year. The Wall Street Journal featured it in their technology section, emphasizing the gap Secure Small had identified in affordable cybersecurity solutions. But the angle that generated the most coverage was the personal story. A young entrepreneur who'd been excluded from family celebrations for being unsuccessful had built a company valuable enough to attract major corporate acquisition. The narrative resonated with business leaders, startup founders, and anyone who'd faced conditional acceptance from people who should love them unconditionally. My phone rang constantly with interview requests, speaking opportunities, and collaboration proposals. Harvard Business School invited me to guest lecture about entrepreneurship and family dynamics. A major startup accelerator wanted me to mentor entrepreneurs facing unsupportive family situations. The most meaningful call came from Derek. "Jasper, I owe you an apology that's long overdue." His voice carried none of the dismissiveness I'd grown accustomed to during family gatherings. This was genuine remorse from someone who'd been forced to confront his own behavior and its consequences. "I've spent the past month thinking about how we treated you, and honestly, I'm ashamed. You were building something incredible while we dismissed you as a failure. That says everything about our values, and nothing about your worth." I appreciate you saying that. But more than that, I've been researching your cybersecurity work, and it's genuinely innovative. You identified a real problem and created an elegant solution. That's exactly what entrepreneurship should be about, not just chasing money or status. Derek's transformation wasn't unique. Stephanie called to discuss how my story had made her reevaluate her law firm's practices and her own measurements of success. Uncle Gerald facing increased scrutiny of his real estate methods after the media attention had begun implementing more ethical business practices. Even Brittany reached out, though her wedding had been overshadowed by the family drama that played out in national media. "I've been thinking about my wedding announcement and how hurtful it must have been. Success isn't just about job titles and salaries. It's about character, persistence, and building something meaningful." It took courage to say that. Your success story made me realize that I'd adopted the family's superficial values without questioning them. Measuring people's worth through external achievements is wrong, especially when those people are family members who deserve unconditional support. The most emotional conversation happened with my parents. They drove to my new office for a face-to-face meeting that was long overdue. "Son, we failed you as parents." My father said, his voice heavy with regret. "We got caught up in external achievements and forgot that our job was to support you regardless of circumstances." My mother had tears in her eyes. When we said that participation requires contribution, we were measuring contribution wrong. You were contributing innovation, hard work, and genuine value. We were too blind to see it. I never stopped loving you both. I just needed you to love me regardless of my bank account or job title. We do love you unconditionally. It took seeing you succeed publicly to realize how much we'd hurt you privately, and that's our failure, not yours." The conversation lasted 3 hours, covering years of misunderstood expectations, conditional acceptance, and the damage caused when families adopt society's superficial success measurements. But it ended with genuine reconciliation and a commitment to building healthier relationships going forward. 6 months later, I established the Henderson Foundation for underestimated entrepreneurs, providing scholarships and mentorship for startup founders facing unsupportive family situations. The foundation's motto became "Building Dreams Despite Doubt." Marcus and I continued working together at CyberShield, expanding Secure Small's capabilities and reaching small businesses across America. Our platform now protects over 50,000 small businesses, preventing countless cyber attacks and saving millions in potential damages. But the most satisfying aspect wasn't the financial success or industry recognition. It was receiving messages from entrepreneurs who'd found courage to pursue their dreams, despite family discouragement, small business owners who felt secure for the first time, and young people who learned that worth isn't measured through external validation. The family group chat that once excluded me for being unsuccessful now frequently features my relatives sharing articles about entrepreneurship, discussing the importance of supporting family members during difficult periods and celebrating achievements that don't involve traditional career advancement. Brittany's second wedding anniversary approached, and she personally called to invite me to their celebration dinner. "This invitation isn't conditional on your success or net worth," she said with genuine warmth. "It's because you're family, and family means supporting each other, regardless of circumstances." I'll be there. The life lesson that emerged from this journey was profound. True success isn't measured by others' approval, but by your integrity, persistence, and the positive impact you make on the world. Family love should be unconditional, supporting each other through struggles and celebrating victories together. When people measure your worth through external achievements that reflects their limitations, not your value, sometimes the people who doubt you most become your strongest supporters, once you prove your worth through action rather than words. But more importantly, you don't need their approval to build something meaningful. The greatest victories come from staying true to your values, persisting through doubt, and creating value that helps others succeed. The Henderson family learned that success has many definitions, but the most important one involves character, compassion, and the courage to support each other unconditionally. Sometimes it takes public embarrassment for people to recognize private failures, but genuine growth requires acknowledgement, apology, and commitment to change. My studio apartment became a distant memory replaced by a home where I could build the next chapter of innovation. But I kept my old kitchen table, the one where I'd coded Secure Small, during countless late nights, while my family dismissed my efforts. It serves as a reminder that great things often begin in humble circumstances built by people who refuse to accept others' limitations on their potential. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced conditional love or family members who only showed support after you achieved external success? How did you handle situations where people measured your worth through achievements rather than character? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your story might inspire someone who needs courage to pursue their dreams despite lack of support. If this story resonated with you, please like this video to help others discover it. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring entrepreneur stories, and share this with anyone who needs encouragement to build something meaningful, regardless of family approval. Your support helps us reach people who need these messages most. Thank you for listening to my journey from family exclusion to entrepreneurial success. Remember that your worth isn't determined by others' approval, and the greatest achievements often come from those who refuse to accept limitations placed on their potential. Keep building, keep believing, and never let anyone else define your value. Until next time, stay strong and keep pursuing your dreams.